love you. That was a hard verse to remember this week. How about you? Own a man but to love you. But this person doesn't need my love. I want to. They did me wrong. But I don't know about you, but it really puts it in perspective when I realize that I'm doing it to Jesus. So I would encourage you this week as you approach each person or interact with each person, remember that you owe them something. You owe them your love. They don't owe you anything. You owe them your love towards them. That's easier said than actually lived, is it not? When we're not living for Him, we're living against Him. Number two, when we stop hearing Him, we start feeling the goads, the pricks in our life, the arrows in our life. You ever notice when we're not hearing Him that He begins to put things in our life that prick us, that make us realize that we're running against Him? If I was to stand in the middle of this hall here with a spear, would you run headlong into it? In reality, that's what we do whenever we live against God, is that we're running against the pricks. We're running against the very things that God is saying, don't go this way. And when we don't hear those things, you notice the storms and the other things that God uses to prick us the other direction. Like, why is all this happening? Jonah, why are we in a storm? Why am I in this whale? Hebrews 12:5 says, "My son, do not despise the chastening of the Lord, nor be discouraged." See, sometimes we can be discouraged even in His chastening. But we are encouraged not to be discouraged, nor be discouraged when you are rebuked by Him. For whom the Lord loves, He chastens, and scourges every son whom He receives. And verse 11 says, "Now no chastening seems to be joyful for the present." Isn't that a statement? Anybody love to be spanked? Give me another. Sir, may I have another? None of us like to be corrected or spanked. In fact, I don't even like to be told I'm wrong. Anybody like to be told you're wrong? You're wrong. No, I'm not. No chastening seems to be joyful for the present, but painful. Nevertheless, after it yields the peaceable fruit of righteousness to those who have been trained by it. That's the benefit of those things, amen? There's a benefit of those goads and those pricks in our life where God is showing us, don't walk in this direction, walk this way. Don't go through the rose bush, stay on the path. And wouldn't that be easier to walk on the path than to go through the rose bush? Amen? And just like in Saul's life, you see that even though he was telling him the direction, he was still pushing against those things. He was still just ignoring the pricks in his life. So that's what I want to exhort you this morning, is that, number one, whenever we're living without God and against God, or without God or not for Him, we're living against Him. And the other thing is that whenever we're having pricks in our life, it's time for us to take time to stop and say, there's something wrong. Why do I have all these cuts? Why is my heart always convicted? Why am I feeling this conviction? Maybe I should stop and realize the direction of my life. Amen?
Amen.
Before God comes along and knocks us off our donkey.
Yeah.
So how do we turn it around in our life? How do we get to a place where God can speak to us in our life? Number one, we need to realize that we don't see as well as we think. We need to first realize that we just don't actually see as clearly as we think we see. In other words, we're not as okay as we think we may be okay. You ever notice that when God brings revival or a change in your life, that you look back and you think, how blind I was. I didn't realize that I was that blind. I didn't realize I was that dead. And we need to then realize that we don't see as clearly as we think we see. See, if we don't realize that we don't see as clearly as we see, a lot of times we just continue to go in the direction. And we tend to just go down and down. See, if we don't listen to God's correction, listen to those goads in our life, then we will continue to go down and down in our life. And it's kind of like a boat that's connected to a dock, or a boat that's harbored in a port. If you let go, you start to drift off. Amen? If you let go of God's word, you start to drift. And maybe little by little, until you don't even know how in the world did I get this far. See, the danger comes whenever we drift and we think, well, I heard the word Sunday. I don't need to read it this week. The more we get drifted from God and His relationship and His Word and prayer, the further and further we are, and we don't even realize how far we are until the storm hits. And then we can be swept away. That's the danger of drifting little by little. See, we need to keep God first in our life. Amen?
Amen.
Seek first the kingdom of God, and all these things shall be added unto you. If we were truthful in ourselves, could we say God is first in my life? How high is He rated in our life as far as time and following and obedience in our life? Is God first in our life? I think this is a good time of year to reevaluate and say, Lord, are you first in my life? Do I seek you first? You know, I think about how did Noah build a boat 500 miles or more or whatever from a body of water for decades, year after year after year. Because he had a relationship with God. Amen. Because God encouraged him through that relationship. He was moved by the fear of God. You know, there's things that God tells us to do that we can get discouraged by. Amen. But it's through that relationship that encourages us. You know, whenever I think of Mary, and I was definitely thinking about this past December and how she was to bring Jesus into the world and just all that she went through. All the shame that she may have had to deal with, or the agony of people's looks of saying, sure, that's God's child. Or how many women in here that would be pregnant would volunteer to ride on a donkey for 3 days? Most of us would want to ride on a donkey being pregnant or otherwise. But think of the inconvenience that was in her life, but yet she was willing to suffer those things. She was willing to go through things that maybe wasn't convenient in her life. Is it convenient to pray? Is it convenient to seek God and His Word?